If you pollute, it may make you feel good about yourself, but it harms others down the line. It goes back to first principles. You can be restricted in what you do if it harms others. Now, with what you're doing has no impact on the environment, then obviously you should be allowed to do it. But environmentalism even comes from this first principle. Frankly, a woman's right to choose comes from the basic principle of you have the right to your own body, the right to decide what you want for your life. Other people can't decide what's harmful to you. Once the baby's born, then you absolutely have to take care of that baby. But when it's intricately part of a woman, until it is separated from the woman, that is her body, that is her agency. She has the right to decide what to do. Gun laws. Again, the problem with gun laws is that such as they are, they allow very dangerous people who have already harmed others to harm others even more. Well, we can restrict on the basis of this harm principle. But really, all these liberal values, they come down to individual rights, to the equal station of all of us as human beings that Jefferson talks about. The word corporation, by the way, is nowhere found in the Constitution. You can even look in the index. You won't find the word corporation. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Declaration of Independence. It practically didn't exist in the 18th century. Humans have rights, not corporations. We could choose to give corporations rights, but they certainly don't have any constitutional rights because they're not human. So they don't have the right to pollute or the right to even free speech. They don't have the right to anything except what we decide to give them the right to do. And that brings us to the consent of the governed, which also is in the Declaration of Independence. To me, consent of the governed means the right of the majority to rule. That's consent of the governed. In 2016, the governed voted, and the majority of them chose Hillary Clinton for president, and a minority chose Donald Trump. We right now are living under a government without the consent of the governed. Do I think the Electoral College is unconstitutional? Well, no, because it's in the Constitution. But do I think it's against the Declaration of Independence? I do. I think it's wrong. I think it is undemocratic. It's one of those things we have to change to form a more perfect union. Our system is not perfect, but if we know our basic values, if we know what we stand for and where they're derived from, at least we can start having these arguments. We can start saying that people are more important than corporations, and that fundamentally the equality of dignity of all of us, the equality of opportunity, is a basic liberal value, and from which you can derive all others. I hope you'd enjoyed this show today. This is Mark Levine, signing off.
Hello, I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. That music can mean only one thing. It's time for Healthcare in America with senior correspondent Donna Smith. Donna, welcome. Let's get right to it.
Thank you. Let's do it.
All right, so Pfizer, pocketing a big tax cut from Trump, ends investment in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's research. Why was this initiated? What's this all about?
Seriously, at a time when arguably they're making more money than they ever have in history, and as we've talked about before, when pharmaceutical companies are more profitable than even oil companies are in this nation. Quite honestly, what Pfizer's trying to argue, and other pharmaceuticals have, is that research and development is just too expensive for the amount of benefit that accrues from having done so. And we know that that is not reality. We know that research and development is expensive, but we also know that a lion's share of that development comes from public dollars, not from private investment. It comes from universities and colleges all over the country doing research work on medications, on disease, and so forth. So it is unconscionable that Pfizer and other pharmaceuticals make the decisions, nope, we're not going to put the money in because the margin of profit isn't what we want on this medication. So many of our baby boomers are going to face this situation either within their families or in themselves and having dementia and Alzheimer's. And here we go with the pharmaceutical companies saying, no, we don't make enough money, so we're not going to advance more profits on this.
Thanks for listening. You can find more information about these topics at nursetalksite.com or nationalnursesunited.org.
This podcast is powered by National Nurses United, the nation's largest union for registered nurses.
I read the news today, oh boy.
It's time for Nicole Sandler's What's News from NicoleSandler.com and the Progressive Voices Network.
Special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russia's election interference and related matters has hit the 1-year mark.
So far, 4 former Trump campaign associates have been charged. 3 have pleaded guilty and are cooperating. Mueller has also obtained 2 more guilty pleas while indicting 13 Russians and 3 Russian companies. As we mentioned earlier, the New York Times has done an extensive report on the origins of what later became the Mueller investigation. President Trump and his allies have launched unrelenting attacks on the inquiry, calling it politically motivated as well as an attempt to undermine him while issuing threats against the U.S. Department of Justice.
You look at the corruption at the top of the FBI, it's a disgrace. And our Justice Department, which I try and stay away from, but at some point I won't. Our Justice Department should be looking at that kind of stuff, not the nonsense of collusion with Russia.
The New York Times report gives us a very different picture of the FBI, writing this in part, quote, interviews with a dozen current and former government officials and a review of documents showed that the FBI was even more circumspect in that case than had been previously known. Agents considered, then rejected, interviewing key Trump associates, which might have sped up the investigation but risked revealing the existence of the case. Those who saw the investigation up close and many of those who have reviewed case files in the past year say that far from gunning for Mr. Trump, the FBI could actually have done more in the final months of 2016 to scrutinize his campaign's Russia ties.
As expected, Trump noted the anniversary with an early morning tweet, quote, "Congratulations, America. We are now into the 2nd year of the greatest witch hunt in American history. And there is still no collusion and no obstruction. The only collusion was that done by Democrats who were unable to win an election despite the spending of far more money." Rudy Giuliani is still making the TV rounds at Fox. He went on Laura Ingram's show on Wednesday and argued that Trump couldn't collude with Russia if his campaign obtained dirt on Hillary Clinton and never actually used it.
When I ran against them, they were looking for dirt on me every day. I mean, that's what you do. Maybe you shouldn't, but you do it. Nothing illegal about that. And even if it comes from a Russian or a German or an American, it doesn't matter. And they never used it. It's the main thing. They never used it. They rejected it. If there was collusion with the Russians, they would have used it.
By the way, WikiLeaks dropped the Podesta emails less than an hour after the Access Hollywood tape came out, and Trump cited them more than 150 times in the final 30 days of the campaign, but there was no collusion, just an observation. At the 1-year mark, Trump's team is pushing the narrative that it's time to end the investigation while insisting that they won't fire Robert Mueller.
We're trying to get him to end this. This is not good for the American people. And the special counsel's office doesn't seem to have that sort of understanding that they're interfering with things that are much bigger than them or us.
You said today there's a plan B and C if Mueller doesn't wrap this thing up. We're entering the 2nd year. You guys are very well aware of how much time and effort this takes to answer these questions, ongoing investigation. Bill Clinton found that out. What is the plan B and C?
Well, we are going to demand an answer. We're going to we cooperated beyond any other president ever cooperated. All those documents, 1.4 million, all those witnesses.
But what's the plan B and C, Rudy? Is it firing Mueller, firing
No, we're not
Comey, firing Mueller?
Then we just start from day one again, as the president pointed out. What we're going to do is we're going to see what kind of legal remedies are available to us, including if they subpoena us, challenge the subpoena.
Trump on Wednesday used a White House roundtable discussion with California leaders to demand the DOJ prosecute Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf for warning residents in February of an impending ICE raid before going on another rant about immigrants.
We have people coming into the country or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals.
EPA Chief Scott Pruitt was lambasted by the Senate Appropriations Committee Wednesday for the myriad of ethical scandals plaguing him. Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont accused him of turning the department into a laughingstock.
The mission of the EPA is simple. Is to protect human health and the environment. not to protect industry friends or to give friends from Oklahoma tens of thousands of dollars in pay raises in defiance of the White House, not to put polluters first, or to travel first class around the world. Incidentally, a Vermonter said, what a silly reason you had to fly first class. Because of a danger to you unless you flew first class. He said, nobody even know who you are. And you go in there, somebody might criticize you. You've got security people that we've never seen before. But you have to fly first class. Oh, come on.
I got the news.
And that's a bit of what's news for now. I'm Nicole Sandler. If you appreciate these reports and the Nicole Sandler Show, I hope you'll consider making a contribution. My work is 100% listener funded, and I can't do it without your help. Find out more at NicoleSandler.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I'd say your staff is speaking Spanish to customers when they should be speaking very violent. I mean, sometimes they do. Every person I listen to, he's spoken, she's speaking it, is America. He's
very ignorant.
That's fucked up.
He's very ignorant, and he shouldn't be allowed.
I will be following up, and my guess is they're not documented. So my next call is to ICE have each one of them get out of my country. If they have the balls to come here and live off of my money, I pay for their welfare, I pay for their ability to be here. The least they can do is
Their welfare?
You understand? If you would say we're running a place in Midtown Manhattan, your staff should be speaking English, not Spanish.
Because of people like you, our nation.
Honey, I'm calling ICE.
Call ICE. So that they can speak.
Maybe you shouldn't eat that sandwich today. Take a break from the food.
Maybe you should get hit by a car, you piece of shit.
Maybe you should get hit by a car, you piece of shit. She didn't miss a beat, did she? No, I love her.
I love at the end, Randy, how just in case there was a shred that he wasn't the worst person on the planet, he hits it with the body shaming and then he's gone.
The body shaming, yes. Yeah, see, and Brett's very, sensitive to the body shaming because while he is a buff, fit man, he does have the hots for Sarah Sanders. He just likes the thick girls. He does. But anyway, that guy right there, his name is Aaron Schlossberg, and he's an attorney. Isn't that something? He's an attorney. And when you look up his office, everybody, please, Aaron Schlossberg, attorney at law, Midtown Manhattan. When you look up his office, you know what you're going to see on his website? Se habla español. Is that something? Oh, my God. And I have to tell you, I was going to make a bar complaint because that thing went viral last night on the Twitter. That man, Aaron Schlossberg, first of all, people were, does anybody know this guy? Well, yeah, we know this guy. This guy is a far right-wing lunatic, and in Manhattan, they're hard to come by. You know what I mean? We in New York, we speak what, like 90 languages, so everybody's cool, but that guy is a super uber right-wing zealot. He actually got into a shouting match with a rabbi, calling the rabbi a fake Jew because he disagreed with the rabbi. And so there were other films of him, doing this to people. And for some strange reason, these lunatics, they have to, they got to put their camera in your face, and they like the insults and they have no argument to make. But anyway, he's a lawyer, and so I was going to make a bar complaint. Okay, he's not he's not a member of the bar. No, he doesn't belong. It's a voluntary organization, as you know, Howard. Yeah. And he refuses to be a member of the bar. So you can't really make a bar complaint, but nice try, everybody. But what you can do is review him on Yelp, which is what I did. Give him a nice review on Yelp. Yeah, that law practice of his, let me tell you. Okay, so here's what really happened at the deli. It's a freaking deli, for God's sake. My God. Okay, so one of the customers in the deli, this was a customer, in the deli was speaking Spanish. A customer was speaking Spanish to a waiter and ordering in Spanish. And this set this right-wing lunatic off. I mean, this made him lose his mind. And he starts, speak English, this is America. And of course, we're New Yorkers, so she said, that's right, this is America. That's exactly where you are. You're in America. And you could hear the other people going, oh, he's so ignorant. But on his way out of the restaurant, he spins. And he's yelling at the employee of the restaurant, who, by the way, stayed completely calm, if you notice. The man that he was yelling at, okay, and he was screaming, I'm calling ICE, I'm calling ICE. And, the customer was saying, yeah, call ICE, and that's who he body shamed. He said, maybe you shouldn't eat that sandwich today. And she didn't miss a beat. She goes, yeah, maybe you should get hit by a car, you piece of shit, is what she said. But the manager who was standing there, he actually was so calm and professional and so cool and collected. And when the newspaper interviewed the manager that he was screaming at, the manager said, he told this to the newspaper, he said, quote, he's a customer, so I had to stay professional. I asked him to leave, and that's, I wanted to ask him to leave, so that's what I did. That's what I did. But just watch it. He stayed so calm, this man. It was incredible.
Clients and your staff is speaking Spanish to customers when they...
The clients and your staff, the clients. See, he's bitching about a customer. He's literally bitching about a customer. The clients and your staff are speaking Spanish.
Your staff is speaking Spanish to customers when they should be speaking
very violent. I mean, sometimes they do.
Every person I listen to, he's spoken, she's speaking it, is America.
It is America. He's very ignorant.
It's fucked up.
He's very ignorant. And he shouldn't be allowed.
I will be following up. And my guess is they're not documented. So my next call is to ICE to have each one of them kicked out of my country. If they have the balls to come here and live off of my money, I pay for their welfare, I pay for their ability to be here. The least they can do is
welfare?
Yes, such an ignorant you intend on running a place and something happen, your staff should be speaking English, not Spanish.
Because of people like you, our nation
Honey, I'm calling ICE.
Call ICE. So that they can see.
Maybe you shouldn't eat that sandwich today. Take a break from the food.
Maybe you should get hit by a car, you piece of shit.
He's a lunatic, and he's an attorney. I mean, I wonder if he knows Michael Cohen. I wonder if the Qataris offered to pay him. I have no earthly idea what the hell is going on in this guy. There must be some sort of a contest called Quienes Mas Racist. I swear to God, I've never seen. It's like a race to the bottom in this country. There's another incident where somebody yelled at a Starbucks. Another freaking Starbucks incident where somebody spilled a Starbucks drink, and it led to a sidewalk fight and hate crime charges because the person who got spilled on said, "Hey," and the person who spilled said, "Shut up, slave." Ooh, listen, here's my best advice to anybody that wants to visit the United States, anybody who's, a tourist. Just be very calm and careful as you make your way through the country and go to Canada. Just pass on through. Because this country is hell-bent on becoming worse than countries other people flee from. Even in the middle of the dead of the summer, okay? It's unbelievable to me. I've never seen anything, it's like amazing. Just pass on through and go straight to Canada, you know what I mean? And here's your president, by the way. Here's your president yesterday. I mean, this just freaks me out. This is so disgusting. I mean, this man is no stranger to calling people rapists and, terrorists, everybody. Listen to this.
There can be an MS-13 gang member I know about. If they don't reach a certain threshold, I cannot tell ICE about them.
We have people coming into the country or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals.
Oh, my
And we're
God.
taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before. And because of the weak laws, they come in fast. We get them, we release them, we get them again, we bring them out. It's crazy.
He's so full of crap. I can't even stand it, okay? Border crossings in this country are way down. The reason why people are here without documents usually is visa overstays. Just saying. But I mean, he's calling people animals now. And then he complains because Jeff Sessions, might I remind you, passed a zero tolerance policy where he said, if you come into this country, we'll take your children. Remember this?
I have put in place a zero tolerance policy for illegal entry on our southwest border. If you cross the border unlawfully, then we will prosecute you. It's that simple. If you smuggle illegal aliens across our border, then we will prosecute you. If you are smuggling a child, then we will prosecute you. And that child may be separated from you as required by law.
That is not required by law. There is no law that says that, but this is their new thing, and it's the Democrats' fault.
I know what you're going through right now with families is very tough, but those are the bad laws that the Democrats gave us. We have to break up families. The Democrats gave us that law. It's a horrible thing. We have to break up families. The Democrats gave us that law, and they don't want to do anything about it. They'll leave it like that because they don't want to make any changes. And now you're breaking up families because of the Democrats. It's terrible.
What a freaking liar. I can't even take it anymore. I can't. I'm like, my brain is cooked with the lie. I mean, it's just not true. It's not true. In 2008, who was the president? It was George W. Bush. George W. Bush passed a child trafficking law to protect children, okay? And it passed the House and the Senate with unanimous votes. Unanimous, okay? There wasn't one no vote on this thing, okay? It had full-throated support from the Republicans and the Democrats. It passed both houses, the House and the Senate, unanimously. George Bush signed it into law as one of his last acts as president. Bye-bye, bye-bye, right? The law says nothing about breaking up families. What it does say is that if you get an unaccompanied minor at the border, they must be not put in detention and they must be put in the least restrictive setting possible. So ICE is ordered to find a family member or a government-run shelter or someplace safe and not restrictive, no jail cells, and Jeff Sessions decides that he's going to break up families and he's going to use it as a threat so that we actually become worse than the countries they're fleeing where they don't separate families, right? So this administration, we found out, and I tweeted this a few days ago, we didn't get to it, but this administration told members of Congress last week that the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health and Human Services, who's in charge of these children, they've literally lost 1,500 migrant children. They can't account for them. It placed them with sponsors somewhere in the United States because they were worried they would end up in the hands of human traffickers or they would be used as laborers by people posing as relatives. So they put them somewhere, but they just can't remember where they put them. And we have had a 40% drop in border crossings. So everything he's just said there is a lie. Everything is all for racial animus. Everything he said is all to gin up. And you know what's so weird? He complains about this immigration thing all the time, right? He's just like, we have the worst laws. Our laws suck. They're insane. Our laws are a disgrace. But he has a Republican House. He has a Republican Senate. And guess what they're doing today? Nothing. They're doing nothing. But I will tell you this. There is a discharge petition floating around the House of Representatives looking for signatures so that they can pass DACA ahead of the election so that the Latino kids don't show up in droves trying to protect the Dreamers and vote them out. Well, Paul Ryan, he said, oh, no, do nothing. Please do nothing. Don't take up DACA before the election. Don't rock the boat. Please do nothing on immigration. Kevin McCarthy, who wants to be the new Paul Ryan, said the same thing. Please, let's stick together. Come on. Don't sign the discharge petition, Republicans. Don't let them split us up. Don't do anything on immigration. It's a great issue for us. It's racial animus. We love that.
Clear for takeoff. Randy Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandyRhodes.com.
April cravings bring May savings. $6 off all orders of $60 or more all month long at herkyjerky.com. After recently wrapping up the always popular bacon jerky special last month, this month Herky Jerky's bringing back their equally anticipated special offer. $6 off any order of $60 or more. No rules, no promo code needed. Just buy any of the award-winning bacon, beef, buffalo, elk, turkey, and venison jerky packs and the scrumptious sticks and smokies and gobble up all the savings. You know, it's really hard to believe that Herky Jerky is now in its 26th year of producing quality meat snacks, but the smiling faces and the generous compliments that Jason gets from all his customers at the events that he attends and those who comment on the web are always appreciated. Jason tells me it's an absolute pleasure to serve you, his loyal customers and our loyal listeners who are trying Herky Jerky for the very first time. Now, the nice weather is finally upon us in most of the country, and so a lot of you are going to be venturing outdoors to hike and fish and play sports or just spend time outdoors with your friends and loved ones. So grab the generous-sized bulk packs because they're perfect for any occasion, or just simply grabbing a snack at home. Pick up a couple of packs of your favorite flavors and enjoy, and remember, shipping is free with your qualifying offer. Thanks again to everybody who listens to The Randy Rhodes Show and who buys these quality meat snacks from our friends at herkyjerky.com.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network, and here's a clip from Tara Buster with comedian Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com.
Like I said, I'm not a big fan of John McCain. But the lies, it's so offensive. Then they have this other guy who goes on Fox News saying, well, that's...
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randy Rhodes Show.
I know what you're going through right now with families is very tough, but those are the bad laws that the Democrats gave us. We have to break up families. The Democrats gave us that law. It's a horrible thing. We have to break up families. The Democrats gave us that law, and they don't want to do anything about it. They'll leave it like that. Because they don't want to make any changes. And now you're breaking up families because of the Democrats. It's terrible.
He's such a liar. I can't. Everything he says is so meaningless. It's like if that pie hole is moving, there is no truth there. Oh, but your pie hole, I worry about that. You know, we're going to go on vacation, and I just wanted to let you know that Herky Jerky is standing by to take your orders for all your camping and your cookouts and your barbecues and your salads in the summer. Nice, cool salads. You could put the, I put the bacon jerky in there. Oh, my God. Herky Jerky, yeah. So just go to herkyjerky.com. Please support Jason while we're away. Thank you very much. Thank you. And also an update on the T-shirts. We're just now putting up the part of the website where you can purchase them. Jack from Progressive Rags. That's where we get our stuff. Progressive Rags. Thank you, Jack. He printed those shirts like I ordered them, like 2 days ago. He calls me this morning. He goes, they're done. You can start selling them. So those are up there. And the sneakers, we sent out 2 test pair to see. Those sneakers are on their way to 2 people. Charisse, I have to say. I don't want to say her last name, but Charisse was our first customer. And I even told her, I don't know if we can send you tracking. I don't know how this is going to go. It's just a girl named Alex who's making them for us. She's way out there in Indiana. Way out. Well, they're done. She shipped them. She provided Charisse with her tracking. So it looks like the test run went well. Very excited about that. So a lot of good things are going to happen while we're away. But Herky Jerky, please, go stock up for the summer. Thank you. All right, Steve in New York. Hello, how may I help you?
Hi. I wanted to tell you how to find out about this guy. First of all...
Oh, the Aaron Schlossberg, attorney at law, say habla español?
Yeah, actually it's so funny. His name is His name is Aaron Morris Schlossberg.
Mm-hmm.
He was admitted to practice in July of 2003.
What a mistake.
And the way, yeah, no kidding.
I thought
I thought,
don't you have to sit down for some sort of an interview?
Yeah.
How did he get through that?
I will tell you, my interview lasted, and I'm not exaggerating, about 90 seconds.
Oh, really?
So you were probably looking on the New York State Bar Association.
Yeah,
site.
I was.
That's a voluntary organization. That does not. And in order to find out, you have to go to what's called the Office of Court Administration.
Oh.
And you go to www.nycourts.gov, and there is a attorney directory, and you can find him out. And I won't say it over the air, but it has his email address and his phone number on his page that shows his stuff on there. So. And the other thing too, yeah, I know it's just going to get crazy.
He is such a wild ass. I mean, he's just so out of control. I mean, there's other videos of him. I didn't pull them, but there are other videos of him standing on the street in Midtown Manhattan, screaming at a rabbi that the rabbi was a fake Jew.
Oh my God.
I know. And the argument was that Aaron Schlossberg is not a fake Jew. The rabbi was a fake Jew, and that they disagreed on Israel. So, of course, because he disagreed, the rabbi was a fake Jew, and Aaron was a real Jew, and this Jew is running around calling people, names, racial names. It's so pervasive. These people are so sensitive. They are just.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, the snow. What a classic definition of the word putz.
Putz, yes, that's a good one.
And there's actually a rule. Yeah, schmuck, putz. Yeah. There's a rule. It's Rule of Professional Conduct, point 4H, which says that a person now shall not engage in any other conduct that adversely reflects on the lawyer's fitness as a lawyer. So he's violated a rule, and actually, arguably, any attorney who knows that has a duty to report him to the Office of Administration.
I hope that has happened. I believe it has. 4 million people saw this video last night. 4 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I just wanted to give you how to find him if anybody wants to go and find him and send him a nice email.
I already
nycourts.gov.
nycourts.gov, and what we want to tell them is that he violated Rule 4.8.
No, 8.48.
Oh, 8.48. Of course. It must be deep in the rules. Rule 8.48 should be rule number 1. No.
Well, don't be a putz.
Yeah, don't be a putz.
Yeah, but no, I just wanted to make sure that I corrected you on that, and because Randy, you're always so good with everything.
No, I stand corrected. That's fine. That's your area. It's not mine. Like I said, I have an honorary law degree, but that's about it.
Yeah, and you click on attorney directory, you put in a caption number, and then you put his first initial, last name, and it comes up and it shows his name, when he was admitted, his email and phone number and everything. So.
Yeah. Well, I tweeted out his personal website last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Douchebag.com.
Yeah, it is. It's douchebag.putz./schmuck.com. Yeah.
Well, keep it up. You're doing wonderful, and I don't know.
Thanks.
I'm glad you're going on vacation. I don't know how you.
I don't either.
Talk about this thing in the White House.
We had a little get together before the show today, and we all decided, okay, enough is enough. The girl is fried, okay, and she needs to go in the sun. Howard's here going, I'm not coming in tomorrow, and neither are you. So
good. You have a wonderful time. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for the advice.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure enough.
That's what lawyers do. They give advice. Mike in Tampa.
Hey, Randy. How you doing?
Hey, Mike.
I wanted to say it must still be winter because these right-wing snowflakes are flying all over the place.
They're so sensitive. They're so easily melted. They just melt.
They really are. I mean, what kind of moron? I mean, I've never been to New York City, but what kind of moron doesn't think that it's like a worldwide famous city that tourists visit? And they're going to speak other languages. I mean,
It's completely.
That's so stupid.
New York is completely multicultural. I mean, the people who love the Russians who elected Donald Trump, they all live there. Just want to let you know. And they speak Russian on the street. And when they curse at you, they do it in Russian. And then you got patois, you got your Spanish, you got your French people, you got your Senegalese, you got your. I mean, everybody's from everywhere. The immigrants just keep on coming, and somehow New York stays the greatest city in the world. Isn't that something? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, right. And then that woman earlier who was freaking out about black people barbecuing. Well, I mean, this is crazy.
Oh my God! All the things you can't do while black, and some of them are like breathe. Some of them.
Honestly, it's getting to that point. It seems like it's crazy.
There must be some contest that's going on.
You can't even sleep in a dorm. I mean, this girl is like the model citizen of what white people are telling black people to be all the time.
She's a graduate student at Yale, for God's sake.
Yeah, and then this white woman, I guess she saw a black woman sleeping, and runs to her room, closes the door, and calls the cops. I mean, what a snowflake.
You see, let me tell you something. That is white privilege, where she thinks that because she's white, she gets to call the police because somebody sleeping made her feel uncomfortable. No, I'll tell you who she gets to call. She gets to call, like, the opioid hotline and report herself and say, she needs to be, rehabbed or something. This is real paranoia. This is serious paranoia. It's sweeping the nation, and it's all led by the world's best racist, the most powerful racist this country has ever seen, and that is the president of the United States.
Yeah, he's pretty much the ringleader.
He is, and he's feeding it because that's how he wins elections, and they know it. Which is why it's so weird. Paul Ryan and McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, they're running around Congress today going, please, please, please do not do anything on immigration. Don't vote on immigration. Don't vote on. And they're going, what are you talking about? We're looking at the polling. America wants DACA passed. And I am running in a swing district, and I need to do something about immigration. Not because it's the right thing to do, of course. They need to do it because they live in swing districts, and they're terrified.
Yeah.
These people are just so gross. They really gross me out. Don't ever make this mistake ever again, America. I keep saying this after every economic crash, after every Black Monday, every Black Friday, every Black Thursday, whenever a market crashes and you lose 40% of your life savings or you lose your house. I keep saying, but Barack Obama said it the best. They take the keys to the car, they crash the car, they drive it over a cliff. We clean up the accident, we give them, human services, we take them to the hospital, we resuscitate them, and then they have the balls to ask for the keys back. And you give it to them. You know why? You're stupid. Jim in Fort Lauderdale.
Hi, Randy.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Plus, I'm a native New Yorker many years ago.
I love New York.
Some stuff that came out earlier I heard on the radio. I won't tell you from who, but this is good. It's in response to that idiot that went on the rant in the deli that calls himself a lawyer. Somebody started a GoFundMe page.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to collect $500 so they could hire a mariachi band to play out in front of this guy's law offices. And they said that if anything was collected in excess of that, they would hire a taco truck to come by and serve them
truck,
lunch.
Yes.
So the upshot is that a mariachi band said, no problem, we'll do this for free.
Oh, yeah, you got to love that hardworking Latino spirit. Oh, yeah.
So apparently they got the mariachi band and the taco truck.
They did? They got both? That's awesome.
This is what I heard.
Okay.
Now,
oh, it is? Yeah, okay. So what is the GoFundMe page? So I can give a couple of shekels.
I've never been to GoFundMe myself.
I'll look it up. Yeah.
But the guy that was just checking me out before he put me on the air with you, he found it. So.
Oh, Howard found it. Howard, what's the GoFundMe page? Oh, he doesn't know. Okay, what is it? The name of the page is. Yeah. standing by. You're so old.
Okay, GoFundMe.com.
Yeah.
Hashtag mariachis for Aaron.
Mariachis for Aaron, everybody. GoFundMe.com, mariachis for Aaron.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to tweet that out. I love that. Thank you. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
See, that's New Yorkers. That's how we are. This is how we do. This is what we do. We don't put camera. And by the way, can I just tell you, everybody's filming everybody now. This is our new country, okay? This is the new America. Everybody's filming everybody. Could you please use the landscape mode? Like, if your camera is vertical, you're going to get the black stripes on either side. So what you want to do is you want to turn the camera ever so slightly so that the camera is horizontal. This is good for your vacation photos, too. Vacation photos and racists that get in your face, okay? This is my tip. So you turn the camera horizontal, and then you can have the whole racist or the whole panoramic view of the, the horizon. Whatever you choose to do with your time. I, of course, will be going to a country where all they do is speak Spanish. And, let me tell you something. This is the thing. The entire world speaks English. Just saying, okay? When the rest of the world, especially industrialized nations, Botswana, when their children go to school, they are taught English from a very early age because they believe in languages. And they're so much fun to try. That's why Rosetta Stone was $1 billion business, and now Babbel is $1 billion because people like to speak languages. They like it. But the rest of the world speaks English. I mean, there's hardly a place that you can go except for deep inside China. China. And that's because they're communists. Do you know what I mean? And so those people don't speak it. But everybody else does. Everybody else in there, the whole world does. But they also speak several other languages. Like all these countries you like to look down at. Yeah, they typically speak English, the primary language of the nation, German, lots of German. They speak languages. Some of them are actually studying Mandarin. Some are studying Han, depending on where they're planning to do future business. You see what I mean? So when we travel, though, and we go to countries where the primary language is, let's say German, we're actually relegated to sign language and pointing. For a refill of coffee, you have to go like this because we were taught nothing. Okay? And so, I go to my second home, which is a Spanish-speaking country. That is their primary language. And to tell you the truth, most people speak English. More than most. Yeah. Well, they have a 98% literacy rate. You know what I mean? Yeah, 98% literacy rate. Almost all their children go to college. Just saying. But boy, these stupid right-wing, they hate Central America. Woo, Central America. Woo, they're animals, They're animals. Meanwhile, they all speak English, and they're the hardest working people I've ever seen in my life. They're the friendliest people, and they're so super paciente with me. They're really patient with me because I want to speak Spanish. And so they will actually slow themselves down a little, not use any slang around me, like 20s. Okay, 20s, it depends where you're from. If I say 20s to you and you're from Cuba, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. But if I say 20s in Costa Rica, it means awesome. Cool. It means genial. It means, awesome, right? And if I say mai, that means nothing. But it's dude, okay? It's dude. So they will refrain from using those words so that I can follow and I can speak. And they are so patient and somehow doesn't go both ways. So as I said, if you are entering our country, our wonderful country for the summer or vacation, or you're a tourist and you're from another country, I'm very sorry that we don't speak any other languages. So please just pass on through and enjoy Canada. Thank you. Sorry. Lo siento mucho. Que lástima. It's a real pity. It really is. Yeah. 98% literacy. All their children go to college. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah, it's really great. And we can't get Amazon to put their campus in Texas. I wonder why.
To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
Randi Rhodes, Air Force.
I'm David Pakman, host of The David Pakman Show on the Progressive Voices channel. Check out this clip from my show.
Okay, during the 2016 presidential campaign, Donald Trump campaigned on pharmaceutical drug prices being too high, and that one of his priorities was going to be to negotiate lower prices. He was going to be tough. It was going to be great for consumers, great for patients, great for everybody except the drug companies. And of course, that quickly changed when right after winning the election, Trump met with a bunch of big pharma executives and lobbyists. And he came out of that meeting and all of a sudden he wasn't concerned about drug prices anymore. And now he's gone completely in the other direction, saying that in other countries, governments have negotiated drug prices that are simply too low. And he's calling it the extortion of big pharma. Trump said that, quote, it's time to end the global freeloading once and for all, and that the price controls that other countries have negotiated with big pharma are, quote, extortion of, quote, unreasonably low prices from drug makers. What's the point of all this? Why is Trump even talking about this? The reason is Trump is arguing that if other countries didn't extort low prices from big pharma, the U.S. would have cheaper prices because we wouldn't be subsidizing the low prices of other countries. And this is one of the most simplistic and naive views of drug pricing that I've maybe ever heard from a president. Trump's basically saying, if you allow drug makers to charge more in other countries, they'd say, hey, you know what? We're making more in other countries. Let's lower prices here in the U.S. Since after all, we don't need to make all that money. After all, what are we, for-profit companies? Oh, yeah, we are. And this is ridiculous at its face, and experts agree it's ridiculous. There's a professor of health policy, Paul Ginsburg, who says the obvious, which is big pharma sets prices to maximize profits, right? They will charge the most they can profitably charge in Europe, and then they will charge the most that they can profitably charge in the United States. If they can charge more in Europe or Asia or South America, they will, and they'll make more money. And they're not going to then charge less in the United States because they're making more money in Europe or Asia or South America. And in fact, the market recognized this because when Trump said this thing, which effectively means let's get prices up in other countries, the market thought this was great and pharmaceutical company stock prices jumped, right? If this was really zero sum, if as prices went up in Europe, they were to come down in the United States, if that was expected, you wouldn't see the markets so excited over Donald Trump talking about pushing up big pharmaceutical prices in other countries. The reason the stocks went up is that this will be a net gain. They'll charge a lot in the United States and they'll charge more in other countries. And truly think about how dumb this argument is, right? Trump's saying that the low prices in other countries are extortion. Pharmaceutical companies aren't forced to do business in other countries. If the prices in France, for example, were too low, then any pharmaceutical company could say, we're not going to do business in France anymore because we're losing money. If they're making enough money in those other countries to continue doing business there, clearly it's to their advantage to continue doing business. And this also, by the way, I was thinking of the horrible timing of this. We just found out that $1.2 million flowed from Novartis to Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, for insights into the Trump administration. Not exactly the best time for Trump to be talking about bringing drug prices up, right? When we find out that actually his personal attorney was receiving all sorts of money from Novartis for healthcare policy work, as we learned last week. And when Trump said he was going to negotiate lower drug prices for Americans, I guess what he meant was force prices up in other parts of the world so that Americans won't think they're getting screwed anymore because the prices will be really high everywhere. I genuinely don't know, but that appears to be his idea.
This guy said that wages are too high in America and still he got elected. Yeah. So this isn't really a surprise now.
Not a surprise at all. And shocking, the con man isn't really going to lower drug prices here in the United States.
You've been listening to part of the David Pakman Show on the Progressive Voices channel. For full audio and video podcasts, interviews, and more, go to davidpakman.com and check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The David Pakman Show.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Claims that your staff is speaking Spanish to customers when they should be speaking.
Being very violent.
Your clients and your staff, they're speaking Spanish. Oh my God! So you know where all this is coming from, right? I mean, this is coming from the President of the United States, and this is coming from Fox News. You know, Tammy, what's her name? Tommy? She's a vowel movement away from what Fox does to the news, too. Tommy Lawrence said, she tweeted this out because she went on a rant on Fox News like the middle of last week. She said, you don't just come into this country with low skills, low education, not understanding the language, and come into our country because someone says it makes them feel nice. That's not what this country is based on. And so a German journalist... Okay, a German journalist and genealogist named Jennifer Mendelsohn actually looked at Tommy Lowen's, whatever her name is, ancestry and found the census records. Now, back in the day, the census records would record how many people lived in a house. I know this because I know where my family is from. I've seen the census records. That's how I know we came from Ukraine. Okay, I'm Ukrainian. So she's German and Norwegian. Okay, so they looked at this genealogist, Mendelsohn, looked at her census records from her family and actually published them. She actually put screenshots of them in response to Tammy's claim that this country was not built on people coming here from rural communities, not speaking English. Turns out Tammy Lawrence's great-great-grandmother lived in the United States for 41 years and only spoke German. 41 years she never learned English. 41 years. Her great-grandmother didn't speak English after living in the United States for more than 10 years. And her great-grandfather, he was baptized in Norwegian. Now, you talk about a dead language. No offense, Norwegian. Norway. No offense. But I've been there. And nobody speaks that anywhere. I mean, no. Then you got your Swiss German and you got all these weird things. But, God love you. It's a beautiful country and you're very friendly, I have to say. And you're very patient with the English speakers because you speak English. And, this weird Norwegian thing. But it's a hard G, right? It's a. See, now, Hebrew is like phlegm is a vowel, is what it is. So that's a little difficult too, but most people speak English there too. But I gotta say, these people are so hypocritical and they're so unaware. They are so, their brains are like sound asleep to the obvious fact that, Irish immigrants came here. This is why John Kelly started this whole freaking, war again when he said, oh, well, people come here from low-skilled rural places and, they're like, their education system is like 4th, 5th, 6th in the world. No, ours is 4th, 5th, 6th in the world. Mississippi is like, 50th in the world. But, honest to God, what they pretend. They pretend that their relatives didn't come here not speaking English, and some never learned English. Okay, they pretend that that's the case. And they also pretend that they came here with like vast IT skills, like in 1901. They all came in. Nobody ever drove a taxi. Nobody ever, did manual labor. Nobody was ever a bricklayer. Nobody ever did, awesome mosaics or any of that. No. They all came in here with like, unbelievable IT skills. They invented, blood banks, which, by the way, blood banks were invented by an African-American scientist. Just saying. Yeah. But, they're just so empty. They're just such an empty vessel of know-nothing. They are the most illiterate people. They are the least aware of history. The Irish immigrants, John Kelly, who came here, what is Ireland sort of, some sort of an industrial hub now? What? No offense, it's beautiful there. It's absolutely beautiful. The lifestyle is, kind of rural, and Cork is kind of a, and you had your religious wars just as recently as a few years ago where the Protestants and the Catholics were still going at it and blowing each other up. Couldn't get over it. But you spoke Gaelic, for God's sake. They did not come here speaking English. And there were signs in windows that said, we don't hire Irish for some strange reason. What do they come from? Like an industrial hub? They had a secret Amazon factory there? What? I mean, what do you make there besides, beer and whiskey? Good stuff, but honestly, what is it, like a mega hub for data processing? And it always has been since the 1890s? Please, you came here and you plucked chickens. You plucked chickens and you wore used shoes. And all you wanted to do was save up enough money to get the hell out of Boston. I mean, what kind of ignorance does it have to be in order to sit on the TV and say our country was built on skilled people coming here speaking English? It's just not true. It's not true. And the whole world, this is the crazy thing. For those of you who do not have a passport, could you please shut the fuck up? You have no idea what the world is. You have no earthly idea what this world is. You sit there and you trash countries and continents, entire continents, as being somehow backward, and yet they experience like major literacy rates, and their kids are coming here to show us how you build a computer. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. I mean, we're on the hunt for like Nigerian scientists. I mean, everybody's like looking for the next guy to hire. It's incredible. It's just so sick. It's just so sick how small-minded they are, how narrow-minded people can be, and meanwhile, what you have is the most corrupt administration I have ever seen in my entire life. And my life does include Richard Nixon being president. I remember being a little kid, and Richard Nixon was like all about Vietnam. He was all about it and lying about it. And years and years later, just like with the Bush administration, these warmongers will confess, okay? Because the closer they get to death, they realize they need to confess their sins, right? Because, accepting Jesus as their Lord and Savior, they know isn't going to cut it when they sacrifice 58,000 19-year-old American lives for a war that they knew from the beginning was unwinnable. Right? So you have like McNamara and all these guys, and they write their little memoir and they go, we always knew that Vietnam wasn't winnable, but it was such a good issue for Richard Nixon because he was, he was a stoner. He was addicted to opioids. He was an alcoholic. He was paranoid. He always felt less than the Kennedys. He suffered from extreme, anxiety that he wasn't good enough because he went to like Whittier College and the Kennedys went to Harvard. And he always felt like, he was never good. And so he just doubled down on the war. He wanted to be a wartime president. He thought that would protect him and blah, blah, blah. And he was recording, and he was an anti-Semite, and he was cursing people and saying, the K word over and over again. And he just hated everything and everybody. And his wife wasn't supportive, and she was a drunk too. And the whole family was messed up. And so, you know what I mean? So he wanted something that he could be in charge of. So he picked a war, and he decided that he was going to send, he had a draft, and he would send 19-year-olds, which was a song back then. 19. It was a song back then. And, of course, the senators' sons didn't care because they didn't have to go. They were getting deferments. And Donald Trump, the rich kids, they were saying, oh, got heel spurs, can't go. Bone spurs. It's amazing how Donald Trump had bone spurs so bad that he couldn't go to Vietnam. And yet every doctor who's examined him at 71 says he's genetically superior to every specimen they have ever. And, he's not, his bone spurs seem to have just cleared up. Poor Melania, she doesn't have such great genes, right? Now, because she had a kidney operation, so get well soon, Melania. But, honest to God, he's a perfect specimen. And then we find out he's dictating the letters and the doctors will. We still don't have a head of the VA, by the way. He gave some stupid little dog and pony show speech today. Sarah, your girl, went to the podium today, and she said, that Donald Trump has just donated this year's salary to the VA, which is his practice, right? She was making a big deal about it. We don't have a secretary of the VA. Why? Because he loves our veterans so damn much he's going to start another war so that they have something to do, of course, because idle soldier hands, is the devil's workshop. So he's got to send them back off to war somewhere, probably Iran. And of course, we have no Secretary of the VA because he fired VA Secretary Shulkin, didn't like him, fired him, and hasn't replaced him because the only nominee he could come up with was Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who apparently is not skilled enough to do the surgery on his wife, right? Can't do Melania. Melania's got to go, to Walter Reed, where the veterans go. But Ronnie Jackson was not, an approved pair of hands. Why didn't Ben Carson do the surgery? I don't know. But because he's very busy making HUD loans to Sean Hannity in Perry, Georgia, where the eviction rate is twice the national average. Way to go, Sean. On government-backed HUD loans, he's buying property. But, I mean, these people are just so vile. They are so dishonest, and they are so wretched, and they are really unskilled. They have absolutely nothing to offer except they want to be bribed. They want to be bribed. So you better pony up if you want a VA secretary. You better pay Michael Cohen $1 million. Like, he actually trolled Qatar. Did you see the story? He told Qatar that the cost for entry, and what did Qatar want? See, this is why some of the media pisses me off because they don't explain things to you. Qatar, I swear to God, wanted to get in on our infrastructure money because Donald Trump was saying he was going to put $1 trillion on the table to rebuild our roads and our bridges and our electric grids and, our dams and all these things. He was going to $1 trillion. So foreign governments like the Saudis, the Qataris, the Emirates, right? They all wanted in on this infrastructure money. And Michael Cohen told the Qataris, price of entry to get access to this infrastructure money is $1 million payable to me, Michael Cohen, immediately. Right now. And they said, never mind, supposedly. But mysteriously, the Qataris were awarded $20 billion in contracts. Isn't that something? But then Donald Trump went traveling, and he went to Saudi Arabia. And the Saudis were like, well, they don't like the Qataris, okay? And by the way, Qatar is the richest nation on earth per capita. I got a lot of crazy people out there, but one guy, he's such a son of a bitch. He's so dumb. He said, he writes me this, like, don't you know that Muslims are all so inbred? Yeah, well, tell it to the Qataris, because they're the richest nation on the freaking planet per capita. I mean, the people in Qatar live so luxuriously. It is the Beverly Hills. Well, actually, United Arab Emirates is the Beverly Hills. Okay, this place must be, I don't know, like the Bel Air. Do you know what I mean? You schmucks. But anyway, so he goes to Saudi Arabia and does a little sword dance. Remember that? Did the sword dance. And so they got $40 billion. Of nothing, though, because he never passed the infrastructure package. Can't even get his stupid wall built. So, it's so funny because the Democrats are saying to the Republicans, we do need immigration reform. And if you want to get reelected, you have to do immigration reform, especially if you run in a swing district. So they're trying to pass a discharge petition to go up over Paul Ryan's head because the speaker picks all the legislation that goes on the floor. The speaker picks it. And Ryan doesn't want to pick immigration because he likes the issue. Same thing with McCarthy, who wants to be the new Paul Ryan. So he's saying, please don't let him tear us apart. Please don't do immigration. Don't do it, right? And so the Democrats are saying, we got to do DACA. You guys know. So you got like 20 Republicans signing on to this discharge petition to do DACA because they have to run for re-election. It's just such a mess. It's such a mess. I can't even stand it. And but I got to tell you, the Democrats made a statement today. I think it was it Jackie Spear? I want to say it was Jackie Spear. I don't know why. I just love her. But she said something like, look, if we have, he wants this stupid wall. So if we have to give him a few dollars, because the dollars that were appropriated in the budget come with a caveat that says not a penny can be spent building a wall. And the Republicans passed that, and the president signed it. The budget, the $1 trillion budget, $1.3 trillion budget, that's separate and apart from the $1.3 trillion tax cut that you didn't get. Yeah, that's separate. So anyway, she said, you know what we should do? She goes, and the Democrats would be willing to do this. We could do the DACA bill, and we can put in there, a couple of dollars for a stupid fake wall. so he can say he's building something. Although somebody pointed out to her he's saying he's building it anyway. And she goes, yeah, but he could, he's lying. Nothing is being built. San Diego doesn't want the stinking wall. But we'll spend a few dollars and we'll build a temporary little thing, a structure. And then after the midterms, we'll tear it down. That's what she said. We'll just do a little head fake over here, just so he'll sign the damn thing, right? Because they go, well, that's one of the right wing's talking point. Don't separate us because he'll veto it anyway. And they're going, well, we'll put money for a wall in there, and the Democrats are going, we could put some in there, and then we'll build a little structure, little tiny one, and then we'll tear it down. And they're like, yeah, cool, we'll do that. That's how bad things are. That's how freaking bad it is. Unreal.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit randyrhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
As I look back on those decisions, I would not make the same decisions again.
EPA Chief Scott Pruitt, who still has a job, gets grilled by Democratic senators.
In some cities, every single road shut down.
Extreme storms kill 5 in the northeastern U.S. King County, Washington files climate liability lawsuit against major oil companies. Plus,
if they're exercising during the third trimester of pregnancy, they may want to consider not exercising outside.
New study finds air pollution dangers extend into the womb.
All of those dangers and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
I love cold country. My lungs are so black I once had the hiccups and a canary flew out.
This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, in our last Green News Report, you had a story on how global warming is making storms worse. And what do you know? Today we have terrible storms on the East Coast.
Yes, a large and very dangerous storm system caused severe damage in the Northeast this week, including generating 3 tornadoes in New York State, where Governor Andrew Cuomo declared a state of emergency. The storm's record-setting high winds caused the deaths of at least 5 people, knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of people, triggered flash floods, and forced the closure of some regional rail lines. It's another reminder to be sure that you and your family are prepared for these increasing intense extreme weather events. In politics, Trump Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Scott Pruitt got a grilling from Democrats in a Wednesday Senate Appropriations Committee hearing.
Grilled Pruitt.
Democratic Senator Tom Udall of New Mexico excoriated Pruitt over the 12 separate probes and investigations into his spending and ethics scandals.
12 official federal investigations of this guy.
Yes, the Inspector General of the EPA said that he will now investigate Pruitt's use of secret private email addresses that bypass public records laws, but it may have to wait until he gets a bigger budget.
He was using secret email addresses.
Right.
A private server.
Yes.
Lock him up.
Here's Senator Tom Udall at that hearing.
Administrator Pruitt, it's hard to know where to begin this morning. Every day there seems to be a new scandal and you at dead center. I'm tempted to say your scandals are a mere sideshow distracting us from the long-lasting devastation your leadership is making on human health and the environment.
Tempted to say, he just said it.
Also in that hearing, Administrator Pruitt claimed that the controversies were mostly overblown, but he did admit
that as I look back on those decisions, I would not make the same decisions again. And I'm sure we're going to talk about some of those.
Oh, just a few.
And the administrator denied knowing that his own employees helped block a federal study showing toxic chemicals are contaminating water systems across the country.
And that study has still not been released.
Right. Meanwhile, just one of the costs of shifting the burden of pollution to the public, a new study has found that the harm of air pollution extends even into the womb. They found that children of mothers who were exposed in their third trimester to fine particles of air pollution from fossil fuels had a 60% higher risk of elevated blood pressure, and that has lifelong negative health impacts, according to lead author Dr. Noel Muller of Johns Hopkins University.
Children who have elevated blood pressure in childhood have a higher probability of having hypertension later in life and cardiovascular diseases.
Another type of pollution, plastic, has now been discovered in the deepest part of the ocean. A plastic bag was found in the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean, some 7 miles beneath the surface. A new analysis documented nearly 3,500 pieces of plastic pollution and fishing gear on the deep sea floor. Some countries and cities have begun to ban single-use plastic products to address the growing scourge of plastic pollution in the ocean. But some good news, a federal appeals court has ordered a halt to construction on some portions of Dominion Energy's controversial Atlantic Coast Pipeline on the grounds that a permit granted by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is inadequate to protect 6 endangered species along its route. And finally, in Washington state, King County, home to the city of Seattle, has filed a climate liability lawsuit against 5 giant oil companies. The county is seeking damages to help pay for the costs of dealing with accelerating climate change impacts like sea level rise, extreme weather events, and ocean acidification, which is harming Washington state's shellfish industry. It's the latest in a wave of lawsuits modeled after the tobacco industry litigation, alleging that the oil companies knew burning their products caused dangerous global warming, but misled the public and investors about it.
These companies are going to pay a price. The question is, will we pay it before they do? I think we already have. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Find us, follow us, and share us worldwide on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
What did you see in your time there that gave you concern about wrongdoing?
Well, I saw a lot of things that definitely concerned me. I think, first of all, the primary story that's being reported, the misappropriated Facebook data, I think is genuinely concerning, and it's exposed a lot of issues in relation to privacy concerns and security concerns of this data and how it can be misused by foreign actors in American elections. I think looking at, more broadly the relationships that the company Cambridge Analytica had, with various other Russian actors. You had Dr. Kogan, who is the professor who managed the Facebook harvesting program, going to Russia. He was working on Russian research projects in Russia on online trolling. Which is concerning given the amount of online trolling that you saw in the American election, and also this is a company that was in close contact with Lukoil, which is the second largest oil company in Russia, talking about psychological profiling, talking about data harvesting, revealing the fact that we had amassed this very large data set on Americans. And made it known to a company that has formal information sharing agreements with the FSB. So I think that's concerning. I think also when you look at some of the message testing that was done.
Message testing, you're talking about what Bannon was trying to test out in terms of softening up core support for their opponents.
So message testing is where you look at different issues that you may want to run on in a campaign, and you test the response and you figure out who's interested in it and who isn't. Some of the message testing that Cambridge Analytica did, even in 2014, so well before the 2016 presidential election involved testing opinions on Vladimir Putin, testing opinions on Russian expansionism in Eastern Europe. Vladimir Putin was the only foreign leader that this company tested. And
as far as you know.
Well, as at least when I was there, that was true. During the extent that I was there, he was the only foreign leader that we had tested at the time that I was there. And for me, that's concerning.
Yes, it's very concerning. That's Chris Wiley. And why is Chris Wiley? I got to tell you that they're not. This is a story that you're not really seeing on the TV, and I'm not sure exactly why you're not seeing it on TV. I mean, I don't know how much money goes back, but I really don't know what's affecting the under-reportage of this story.
I was just discussing with Howard that, and I don't think most of America knows what they're seeing with this story. And I was wondering, Randy, I was just thinking, is his life in danger? Traipsing around in front of cameras telling his story?
Who, Chris Wiley?
Yes.
Well, he's already told his story, so why would his life be in danger? He actually testified yesterday in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he's also testified in London. He's also testified, to the British. And here in America, I got to tell you, this story is being taken so seriously that the person who's been put in charge of it at the Justice Department and the FBI, who are investigating Cambridge Analytica, which has just declared bankruptcy, thank God. Thank God. Not that they're going to disappear. There's another company that they've started, right behind it. But this Steve Bannon monster that he built by stealing, they called it scraping, but it's leeching off your data. This guy Chris Kogan was teaching, at the University of St. Petersburg, going back and forth from London to St. Petersburg to Russia, and he's the guy who built those stupid quiz apps that you see on Facebook. I can't tell you how many stupid, lunatic, 4chan right-wingers, Reddit users, and you go to their Facebook pages because they have the temerity to come over to mine. So, of course, first thing I go look to see are you a cat lady, or do you have the Confederate flag, or are you a bot? You know what I mean? And you can always tell there's no photos, they have no family, they don't exist, okay? And then the ones that do exist, oh, they're the sickest freaks in the world. They have photos of them and their guns, because that's their best friend. Yeah, I hope your gun keeps you warm, on a winter's night. I hope your gun tells you it loves you as much as you tell it, because, reciprocal love is good love. But anyway, so, you have all these crazy people out there taking these stupid quizzes and posting the results. What's your personality? And they go, I'm aggressive. You know what I mean? Or, what song are you? Oh, it's just so funny. And they always do it. They always do it. Well, this is how they leached off data from these people, and they started testing them with messages and that's how Trump settled on immigration. That's how he settled on opening his gate. Because it came out of nowhere. Immigration was net zero, right? Mexico was doing really well. NAFTA was working both ways. People were staying in Mexico. Do you know what I mean? Things were fine. And then all of a sudden he starts this campaign with Mexicans are not sending their best people. They're sending rapists and murderers and blah, 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 and all this racial talk, because that's what the message testing showed. These people could be motivated to vote for a guy who had zero experience in government at all, a guy who was a 6-time bankruptcy filer, a guy who ran casinos where, for the first time in the history of casinos, the house lost, right? A guy who literally hired illegal immigrants to work for him and paid some of the Polish workers in vodka. A guy who was running a fraudulent university that was bilking people out of $36,000 worth of tuition a year. A guy who had settled 1 million lawsuits. The message that they were ready to receive was something racist, was something ugly, was something about brown and black people, right? And the crazy thing about Chris Wiley is telling you, and testified under oath in London. He testified to the British, and he testified to the Senate Judiciary Committee here yesterday. I'll play it to you because it's kind of geeky, but those of you who are, at least as experienced as I am on the web, you'll know what he's talking about. I think he explains it, very straightforwardly, so I think you'll get it. But check out who's in charge of investigating the Mercers. Okay, so this is Robert Mercer, his daughter Rebecca Mercer, Steve Bannon. That's who Cambridge Analytica was. And so Wiley's been telling this story for a really long time, and it turns out that the Justice Department and the FBI have opened an investigation into the Mercers, have opened an investigation into Steve Bannon, and it's both sides of the Atlantic. The New York, the Washington side and the London side, both, the House of Parliament and our Senate is investigating. So is our Justice Department, so is our FBI. And who was assigned to this case? Just one of the many people that was assigned to this case is the Assistant Chief of the Justice Department's Securities and Financial Fraud Division. Yeah, Brian Kidd, that's his name. And check this out. The person who he's being assisted by here in the United States is the FBI agent who investigates cyber crime for the FBI. Okay, so I just want to give you a little factoid before we proceed with this story. This week, I told you, nobody wants to work for Donald Trump, but they fired John Bolton, who has the Bolton Super PAC, that was a client of Cambridge Analytica. Okay, he spent almost $500,000 with the Mercers, $500,000 on Cambridge Analytica's psycho mapping of strange humans that live in the United States who are receptive to racism. John Bolton is now our national security advisor. So John Bolton just fired the White House cybersecurity expert. He just fired him. So we have no VA secretary. We have no cybersecurity expert at the White House. Right ahead of an election, John Bolton had him fired, right? I mean, it's so unbelievable. They just keep firing people who are, getting deep into the truth of this, right? Anyway, Wiley was explaining. I'll play you, like his explanation about how Bannon approached this profiling of voters beginning in 2014. So check this out. So basically what Bannon did was he did psychological profiling on 22 million Americans, right? That's what the Mercers and Bannon did. 22 million Americans were profiled. 87 million people in the United States had their data leached, had their data breached, had their data taken by the Cambridge Analytica. And it's not because you took the quiz. It's because somebody in your friend network did. And when they took the quiz, their entire list of friends was sucked up. And that included you. Even though you were not that stupid and you don't take quizzes to see which girl on Sex and the City you are. Or what song you are. Or what's your personality type, things like that. Okay, but Bannon did this in 2014. He started it. So basically what we have here is Steve Bannon crafted a message and then went in search of a person to deliver it. And Bannon picked Donald Trump to be that messenger. Not because of any skill set that Donald Trump has, in governing or world affairs, no, because he was a salesman. He was a demagogue. He was a P.T. Barnum. Because Donald Trump really does live his life by that motto that a sucker is born every minute. And so the two of them connected, and this is how we got this campaign. All right, so here's Wiley explaining how the Bannon-Mercer effort at Cambridge Analytica was looking at Americans, especially the very vulnerable ones, especially the very emotional ones, especially the very scared ones, the freaky ones, the ones that are just, terrified that, only 87% of all the wealth goes to white people and not 100%, like that. And they don't have any of it, but that's okay as long as they know white people are getting it. They're cool with it, right? He said that those people were considered by Steve Bannon and the Mercers as people who you could attack like ISIS. You know what I mean? That the same kind of recruitment methods that ISIS used could be deployed against Americans to get them to join in this racist, rant that they were having.
He sees this as warfare, so he is going to use as aggressive techniques as he can get away with.
But do you realize what you're saying? You're talking about warfare on the American citizenry.
This is Steve Bannon and Robert Mercer using a foreign military contractor to use some of the same techniques that the militaries use to fight ISIS on the American electorate. That's what they wanted, and that's what they got.
Oh my God. You were brainwashed like ISIS. And you hate ISIS because you think there's something wrong with them, but they're you. They treated you like they treat vulnerable 16-year-olds in third world, shitholes. And you fell for it. And you only live in a first world shithole. It's unbelievable. So the Justice Department is investigating. The FBI is investigating. The National Crime Agency of Britain is investigating. They suspect, and this is what they think happened, that Cambridge Analytica employees bribed foreign officials, destroyed evidence, hacked computers, and violated the privacy of Americans and Brits alike. The Brits, they did their Brexit thing. That was Nigel Farage was in charge of that. And over here it was Steve Bannon and the billionaire Mercer family who played you.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
April cravings bring May savings. $6 off all orders of $60 or more all month long at herkyjerky.com. After recently wrapping up the always popular bacon jerky special last month, this month Herky Jerky's bringing back their equally anticipated special offer. $6 off any order of $60 or more. No rules, no promo code needed. Just buy any of the award-winning bacon, beef, buffalo, elk, turkey, and venison jerky packs and the scrumptious sticks and smokies and gobble up all the savings. You know, it's really hard to believe that Herky Jerky is now in its 26th year of producing quality meat snacks, but the smiling faces and the generous compliments that Jason gets from all his customers at the events that he attends and those who comment on the web are always appreciated. Jason tells me it's an absolute pleasure to serve you, his loyal customers and our loyal listeners who are trying Herky Jerky for the very first time. Now, the nice weather is finally upon us in most of the country, and so a lot of you are going to be venturing outdoors to hike and fish and play sports, or just spend time outdoors with your friends and loved ones. So grab the generous-sized bulk packs, because they're perfect for any occasion, or just simply grabbing a snack at home. Pick up a couple of packs of your favorite flavors and enjoy, and remember, shipping is free with your qualifying offer. Thanks again to everybody who listens to The Randi Rhodes Show and who buys these quality meat snacks from our friends at herkyjerky.com.
Hello, I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. There were several reports of tragic infant deaths. Let's listen to this clip.
A local baby's death is under investigation, and the medical examiner's office tells us it may have been caused by co-sleeping.
Your baby won't go to sleep, you're tired, mom needs some rest, and so they end up putting baby in bed with them.
Health officials say that if you sleep in the same bed with your baby, that you shouldn't do it. And if you are still doing it, you should stop immediately.
So that was a clip from Jacksonville, Florida News 4. An estimated 3,500 infants die each year from deaths related to sleep. Wow. Together, these are called sudden unexpected infant deaths, which include both sudden infant death syndrome and deaths from suffocation, asphyxiation, strangulation, and other preventable deaths.
So, Marcia, can you shed some light on the differences here between co-sleeping and bed sharing?
If your baby's in a bassinet right next.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
All right, let me tell you a couple things, then I'm going to play you Chris Wiley's opening statement in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee just in a second here. Torture lady Gina Haspel has been confirmed. She's the new head of the CIA. Mm-hmm. As somebody who spent my entire life, on the air fighting against torturing people, I got to say this is a bad thing. Democrats did vote for her, like Manchin, Donnelly in Indiana, Joe Manchin, of course, in West Virginia. A bunch of them. I believe Heidi Heitkamp, she was a yes vote because they all are running again in red states. So apparently red states are pro-torture. That produced no actionable intelligence and instead sent the CIA on wild goose chases. That produced nothing. So there's that. But here's the good news. We don't even pay attention to Summer Zervos and her case against the president. Now, remember, Summer Zervos is suing President Donald Trump for defaming her because she was an apprentice contestant, and she said during the campaign that Donald Trump had groped her, that he, grabbed her, and that he, did all kinds of, moves on her, sexual moves in a hotel, and they were unwanted. Well, Donald Trump called Summer Zervos a liar. Remember, he said he was going to sue all the women. He sued none of them, but she sued him because she said that his calling her a liar ruined her reputation. It defamed her. And so she brought a defamation suit. A lower court had ruled that her case could go forward. You can sue a sitting president. We know this from the Paula Jones, Bill Clinton extravaganza. And so the lower court had, and so they appealed it, and the appeals court sided with the lower court and said, oh, no, absolutely a president can be sued. And so her case can now go forward. Now, the only defense for defamation is the truth. So if Donald Trump tells the truth, he has to say, yeah, I groped her. Now, if he continues to call her a liar and she can prove that this all happened at the Beverly Hills Hotel, I believe is where she said it happened, you can check, and that there were surveillance cameras on the property and you could see he's there, she's there, it all happened, and you could see her leaving the room and all that. I mean, if she can actually prove her case, which I doubt she would have brought unless she could prove her case, then Donald Trump will probably lie under oath and say he didn't do it because he's a liar. In which case, the president can be removed from office the same way, he could be impeached the same way Bill Clinton was impeached for obstructing justice and lying under oath. So there's that. That's good news because the fact that her case can go forward now means they move into the next phase of the case. The next phase of the case is discovery. Discovery means interrogatories, written questions, written answers. And really, the only question is, did you grope Summer Zervos? And he's going to lie. And then the deposition takes place, and that's usually videotaped. Right? And so we'll have that. Now, we've seen other videotapes of Donald Trump testifying under oath, especially in the Trump fraud cases and things like that. And he lies. He lied. I mean, there's one deposition, I believe he lied 130 times. Somebody actually sat there and counted 130 times. So this is good. So this is good news. All right. So that's the little side car for today. Gina Haspel is now your first female CIA torturer that we've ever had. How she could not have post-traumatic stress disorder after all the crap that she saw and the destroying of 92 tapes and the lying about it under, I don't know. But we now have a CIA director who obviously suffers from PTSD because there's no way that she could have seen what she saw and videotaped it and then destroyed the videotapes and be okay. I just don't think it's humanly possible. And then Summer Zervos, she can now depose the president. That's wonderful. I can't wait. All right. So now back to the FBI and the Justice Department's investigation into, Cambridge Analytica, right? So here's Chris Wiley, who is the whistleblower at Cambridge Analytica, testifying, and this is his opening remarks. These are his opening remarks yesterday to the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Cambridge Analytica offered voter disengagement services in the United States, and there are internal documents that I have seen that make reference to this tactic. My understanding was that this was targeted at African American voters.
Oh.
When I was at Cambridge Analytica, I was also made aware of the firm's black ops capacity. I have seen documents relating to instances where the firm sought to procure hacked material. Some of the targets of these special intelligence services are currently heads of state in various countries.
I've also seen internal documents that make reference to the use of specialized intelligence services from former members of Israeli and Russian state security services.
Oh.
Of further concern is Cambridge Analytica's employment of people closely associated with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange.
Oh.
In addition to making approaches to WikiLeaks, the firm hired 2 senior staff, both of whom were previously aides to the British lawyer representing Julian Assange.
Oh.
Cambridge Analytica sought to identify mental vulnerabilities in voters and worked to exploit them by targeting information designed to activate some of the worst characteristics in people, such as neuroticism, paranoia, and racial biases. To be clear, disinformation, spreading rumors, compromat, and propaganda. Dr. Alexander Kogan was selected by Cambridge Analytica to lead the data harvesting operation, and over 80 million data subjects had their personal data misappropriated. Given this scale, this could be one of the largest breaches of Facebook's data. Cambridge Analytica contractors had also worked on pro-Russian political operations in Eastern Europe, including with suspected Russian intelligence agents.
Oh my God.
Cambridge Analytica set up focus groups and polling on Americans' views on the leadership of Vladimir Putin and Russian expansionism in Eastern Europe. Dr. Kogan was also working on Russian state-funded research projects. The Russian project at St. Petersburg was also building algorithms using Facebook data for psychological profiling and researched social media trolling. In fact, Cambridge Analytica pitched, quote, the interesting work Alex Kogan has been doing for the Russians, end quote, to its other clients.
That's a small sampling of what happened yesterday at the Senate Judiciary Committee. And did you see any of that on the TV? Did anybody see any of that on the TV? I didn't see it on the TV. What I saw on the TV all night last night was how Trump Jr. made phone calls to a blocked number, and everybody knows that's his father. Over and 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 over. Now, Muller, I'm sure, has subpoenaed, AT&T or Verizon or whoever the carrier is, and has those records. Move along, please, because he's going down too for lying under oath. But here you have Chris Wiley, who we have seen on television, okay? We've seen him on TV telling the story of Cambridge Analytica, telling the story of the Mercers, telling the story of how SCL, which is a foreign defense contractor, a foreign defense contractor. They're British. Doesn't mean they're an adversary, but they are not American, and that's illegal according to our campaign finance law. And I say law singular because we only have like the one. It's like there's only one law you can't break, and that's you can't take foreign money. All other money is welcome, and you don't have to, disclose who you are, and you could give in massive number. 30 million is fine. Funnel it through the NRA for all we care. We have no laws, right? We have no law. We have one law says no foreign money in a campaign, and they violated that one. And not only do they violate that one, but they violated it with a British defense contractor who is trained in military psyops, okay? And they hired a military psyops firm to do propaganda and psychological profiling of vulnerable, paranoid, racist, ugly, flailing people in the United States, targeted them with their, pro-Trump, he's all about your racism message. And what's important about this is under oath. Wiley, when he's on TV, is not under oath. He's under oath in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He is a former Cambridge Analytica employee who lays out the fact that SCL was a defense contractor and that Cambridge Analytica was a shell company set up by billionaires to give it the appearance that it was an American company to avoid the one law of you can't have foreign interference in an American election, but it didn't work because there's Chris Wiley, and Chris Wiley has documents, and Chris Wiley has contemporaneous notes, and Chris Wiley has other employees who are testifying, and so he's not alone. And he has testified that Mr. Bannon saw the culture war as a means to create the change in American politics that he wanted to see towards fascism, towards Nazism, toward a failed ideology of racial purity. Seriously. And he used a foreign defense contractor to do it and a billionaire's money to launch it. Now, I'm going to play you the geeky part first, okay? I'm going to play you this one because this is Sheldon Whitehouse. And, you know, they only get like 5 minutes to ask questions on a very complicated issue. So Sheldon Whitehouse was all business, I have to say. And he just plowed through these questions one after the other. And the answers were stunning. Seriously, seriously stunning. To lay out the fact that SCL was a defense contractor, that the Mercers created a shell company called Cambridge Analytica to give it the appearance, and, Black Cube, the Israeli Mossad, the former intelligence agents, everybody was involved in this. I mean, it's so sick. They built an arsenal of informational weapons and deployed them on the American population. Okay, here you go.
You've said that Cambridge Analytica and the SCL Group are effectively the same thing, and that Cambridge Analytica was the front-facing company for SCL's American operations. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is SCL Elections?
So there is a group company in the UK, or was, called SCL Group, which had several different divisions. The largest division when I first joined was Defense, so SCL Defense. SCL Elections was one of the other divisions, SCL Commercial, et cetera, and they all handled different markets for the company. So SCL Elections handled political.
What are SCL Canada and Aggregate IQ?
Those were subcontractors that were set up during the time that I was there to build out software infrastructure. They played a very significant role in building the actual infrastructure of Ripon, the software product Ripon.
Are they essentially the same entity, SCL Canada and Aggregate IQ?
You could think of them like a franchise.
Okay, I just want to interrupt for a brief moment. Ripon is the quiz program that sucked up all your Facebook data, okay? So if you had a friend, a miscreant friend who took these, quizzes, and you were friends with them on Facebook, then Ripon, which is Kogan's quiz app, sucked up your information too.
And the Ripon program was the program that developed the software to use the Facebook data.
Yes. Once you have algorithms and a set of targets, you need something to then actually connect those targets with an online display network. So that's part of the role that Ripon played.
What is Global Science Research?
Global Science Research was the company that was set up by Dr. Kogan.
And you've said that it became a company simply to service Cambridge Analytica, correct?
Oh, Jesus.
It became a company, as I understand it, it became a company so that it could sign a contract with Cambridge Analytica, or rather, technically SCL.
Is it fair to describe the entities that I have all just described as a coordinated network?
Yes.
Great. So, something's coordinated. Thank God, right? Something in this administration. No. So here's what he's saying. He's saying that a British defense contractor decided to mask that it was foreign, to mask that it was a defense contractor, and it started setting up a political operation inside Britain for the Brexit thing. And then America liked it, and so they wanted to bring it over here, but they couldn't because you can't have a foreign defense contractor doing work for a American political campaign. And so the Mercers invested billions of dollars, and Bannon, who was funded by the Mercers. Remember Bannon, not only worked, it was on the board of Cambridge Analytica after it was created to mask that it was a foreign defense contractor that was doing this kind of psychographic modeling and profiling. But he also sat on Breitbart, okay? And Breitbart was funded by the Mercers. So that's how those two got together. And so then they had this idea that they'll set up a shell company, which was, created in Maryland. Okay, it's all it is. It wasn't real, just like Michael Cohen's Essential Consultants isn't real. And they created this entity so it looked American. But really what it was a combination of a Canadian company called, Aggregate IQ, a British company. Now, these are not adversaries, but they are foreign. And a Professor Kogan, who worked at the University of St. Petersburg, who developed the app that would suck up all your information, and that they all got together in a coordinated way to do the Brexit campaign and convince people to break up the European Union, okay, over there, and over here to break up NATO, which is happening, by the way, and to elect a racist who would be the perfect vessel to tell you that you wanted to break up NATO, to tell you that African Americans, and they did target African Americans with a voter suppression effort, the likes of which no one had ever seen. Sort of makes Jim Crow look stupid. And that's what he opened up with, was that the biggest part of Cambridge Analytica suppression efforts were directed at African Americans to make them not love Hillary, just have I don't know, maybe I won't. And it worked. It worked. It suppressed the African American vote. Chris Coons from Delaware, he asked Chris Wiley yesterday if one of Bannon's goals was to suppress voting or discourage certain individuals in the U.S. from voting. Chris Wiley's direct answer was yes. Mr. Bannon sees cultural warfare as the means to creating enduring change in American politics. It was for this reason Bannon engaged SCL, the parent company, a foreign military contractor, to build an arsenal of informational weapons he could deploy on the American population.
To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force.
Try and get up every morning, day after day, and work for a living. Let's see him try that. Then we'll see who's the real tough guy. The working man is the tough guy.
With me, Joe Wilson, a wealth management advisor with a big money management house.
Mo money, yo money, Joe money.
We're happy to get the kind of money that jingles, but we'd rather get the kind that folds.
Not your grandpa's financial show.
What's going on, my money mavens and moolah misfits? It's me, your money guy, Joe Wilson of the Joe Knows Money Show, reporting live on Progressive Voices Network, delivering you 4 minutes of money news you can use. Trending this week in money news, the price of electricity for residential consumers has gone up by 26% over the last decade. The average U.S. household now spends over $2,000 a year on energy costs, according to the U.S. Department of Energy. That leads me to my next topic, 10 large and small changes you can make to lower your energy bill. Tip number 1, add attic insulation. The attic is where most of your home's heat escapes to. Why? Well, heat rises, and most homes don't have enough insulation up there to keep it from getting out. Fiberglass insulation is relatively cheap, and it's easy to install yourself. Tip number 2, apply weather stripping. Weather stripping is very easy to install and prevent the inside air from escaping through your doors. Tip number 3, install programmable thermostat. The USDE estimates you'll save 10% off your utility bill just by installing a programmable thermostat. Don't forget, the more you turn your thermostat down in the winter and up in the summer, the more you're going to save. Tip number 4, install a low-flow shower head. Did you know that many older shower heads put out 4 to 5 gallons of water per minute? The low-flow shower head puts out roughly 1.5 gallons, and you still get an awesome and forceful shower. Low-flow shower heads really run the gamut on prices from $10 on up to $200 or more. Tip number 5, insulate your water heater. If you have an old water heater, you can save 4 to 9% on your water heating costs simply by insulating it. Tip number 6, wash clothes in cold water. Did you know that 90% of energy your washer uses goes to heating up the water? So switching to cold water can really add up. Tip number 7, pack the dishwasher. When you use the dishwasher, never ever run a half load. Want to save even more? Turn off the manual heat dry and let your dishes air dry. Tip number 8, hand wash your large pots, pans, and dishes. Tip number 9, buy Energy Star appliances. Energy Star rated refrigerators, washers, furnaces, and water heaters use a fraction of the energy that non-rated counterparts use. Most of the time, they're priced competitively as well. Tip number 10, cook strategically. It takes a lot of energy to heat your oven. If you're cooking something small, use your toaster oven instead. Now it's time for Joe's Money Trap of the Day. Unplug what's not in use. One easy fix is one we'll all consider but don't necessarily do. When you're out for the day, unplug fixtures or switch off power strips not in use. Getting in the habit of unplugging things as you leave your home can help reduce vampire energy. Here is Joe's money grab of the day. If you can't undertake the cost of a professional energy audit, there are options like Home Selfie, a free app and web service powered by utility information company Energy Data Metrics. Home Selfie shows you how to input information about your home to tell you where you can make improvements, from simple fixes to replacing old appliances. And now it's time for Joe's quote of the day. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. That is a quote by famed investor Warren Buffett. You are listening to the Joe Knows Money Show on Progressive Voices Network. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Joe Knows Money and on Twitter at Joe Knows Money.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, every Monday and Thursday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday,
you can hear us from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
Got my Constitution out right here, and it says, the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So the only two high crimes and misdemeanors specified in Article 2, Section 4 of the United States Constitution are treason and bribery. It's not a question of either or, it's both and. This is the tip of the iceberg. This is the lily pad of the swamp. It has to go deeper. So for a president who keeps saying no collusion, this is worse than collusion. This is bribery, and this is treason. Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Thursday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Well, what I do know is that Professor Kogan, who managed this data harvesting scheme of 50 million Americans, was going back and forth between London and Russia, working at St. Petersburg University on Russian-funded programs to look at psychological profiling, and indeed talking about the value of social data in political targeting. Meanwhile, as we're talking to Luke Oil about the same program, to me, my concern is that Cambridge Analytica, whether I'm not saying that it did it intentionally, but I am concerned that we made Russia aware of the programs that we were working on, and that might have sparked an idea that eventually led to some of the disinformation programs that we've seen and the interference that we've seen from Russia in American elections. So for me, I'm concerned about that. And if I played some kind of role in that, I feel like it is my duty to tell people about it, which is why I'm talking to you.
So that's how it started, and that's how we were introduced to Chris Wiley in the first place. And now he has testified under oath both in Britain and in the United States. And there is a across the Atlantic, investigation that's going on, and the accusations that are being made, at least in Britain, are that Cambridge Analytica employees bribed foreign officials, destroyed evidence, hacked computers, and violated Britain's Data Protection Act. That's what's going on over there. Over here, we have the Securities and Financial Fraud Division looking at, with the Cybersecurity Division at the FBI, looking at Cambridge Analytica, looking at how they infected the midterm elections, how they, complied with or did not comply with federal election law, and whether or not they broke into commercial databases, and that if they, if their marketing work actually was illegal. Now, a lot of people don't understand the difference between above board marketing, where they try to get you to buy a podcast, buy a stinking podcast, for instance, or buy some herky jerky while I'm gone. That would be good. They don't understand that simple messages, where you tantalize somebody with your awesome talents or your awesome song or your awesome, T-shirt or your awesome sneaker or whatever it is. They don't involve hacking into your computer. They don't involve racism. They don't involve psychological, profiling to exploit your neurosis. And so that's one of the questions Chris Wiley got yesterday because, the Republicans are like, so what? It's just marketing, right?
So when you are looking at traditional marketing, first of all, doesn't misappropriate tens of millions of people's data if they're performing their duties legally. And it is not or should not be targeted at people's mental vulnerabilities, such as neuroticism or paranoia, or indeed racial biases. Traditional marketing does not exacerbate people's innate prejudices and coerce them and make them believe things that aren't necessarily true.
But you also say that they were a full-service propaganda machine that discouraged voters who are more prone to voting for Democratic or liberal candidates. And some of their U.S. clients prevailed extremely close races. Why did Cambridge Analytica's American clients, investors like the Mercer family, invested $20 million?
Jesus.
Believe these tactics might be helpful.
So Steve Bannon is a follower of something called the Breitbart Doctrine, which posits that politics is downstream from culture. So if you want to have any lasting or enduring changes in politics, you have to focus on the culture. And when Steve Bannon uses the term culture war, he uses that term pointedly, and they were seeking out companies that could build an arsenal of informational weapons to fight that war, which is why they went to a British military contractor which specialized in information operations.
Holy shit. And that's under oath, okay? So it's not on the TV anymore. The adorable child with the pink hair, it's under oath. This is actual testimony given yesterday to the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I got to tell you, like, the really scary part. So we know Cambridge Analytica has declared bankruptcy, and they've closed their doors, and they're out of business, right? Which is a wonderful thing. However, there is a new setup under a different banner. Same people. Actually, slightly different people. Let me tell you who the new people are. The new company is called Emmer Data, E-M-E-R, Data, D-A-T-A, okay? They are a British holding company. They were formed to bring in new investors who peeled off of the Mercer's efforts and the Breitbart efforts, the Bannon efforts, but they still liked it. They still like the exploitation of racist, paranoid, neurotic people in the United States. They liked it. They think that it got them the result that they want, which is to move America closer to fascism, which is to move America closer to Nazism, which is to move America closer to a dictatorship, to take away the freedom of ordinary people. And of course, in order to take the freedom away from ordinary people, you have to lie to them. You have to tell them that their freedom is under threat from somebody else so that they will take their own freedom in this paranoid effort to keep something for themselves when it all goes to hell. This is what prepping is about. This is what all this crap is about. This is what the racist crap is about. All right. So there's a new company. It's called Emmer Data, E-M-E-R Data. They're a British holding company. Their directors, according to public records, include Johnson Ko Chun Shun. He is a Hong Kong financier, and he is the business partner of defense contractor Eric Prince, brother of Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. Inheritors of the Amway fortune and arrangers of Seychelles meetings in the Indian Ocean with Russian spies to open back channels to Russia outside the eavesdropping ears of our intelligence community. So Eric Prince and a Hong Kong businessman who both have links to the Chinese government are in business together to replace Cambridge Analytica. Now, let me tell you that the company that Mr. Johnson Chun Shun owns, well, the company that Eric Prince owns now used to be called Blackwater, then it was XE, and of course that was, just the and now it's Frontier, that's his company, which is training the Chinese military, to take on the U.S. military. They have links to the Chinese government through this company called CITIC, C-I-T-I-C. It is a state-owned Chinese financial conglomerate that for decades employs the sons and the daughters of the Communist Party's elite families. It is Eric Prince's major investor in Frontier Services Group, and because he's being paid by the Chinese, he trains the Chinese military. And because he does that and doesn't want anybody to know what I'm telling you, because, back in the day when Blackwater was Blackwater, it changed the entire focus of the Iraq War, because on day one of shock and awe, I wonder how many people remember this, but I do. On the first day of the Iraq War, shock and awe day, Blackwater contractors split off from the U.S. military. The U.S. military was supposed to go into Baghdad and take Baghdad, but oh no, Blackwater wanted to go into Fallujah, which was not ready for American, it wasn't ready to enter. And the Blackwater contractors decided they would just screw the United States military. They would do it Eric Prince's way, and they went in there, and those contractors lost their lives in a brutal ass way. Okay, they were killed, they were set on fire, and they were hung from a bridge. It was March, 31st, 2003? Or 4, can't remember. I'm going to say 4. And those defense contractors were hung from a bridge, and America saw it, and everybody in this country said, we have to get those bastards, we have to get those bastards. Well, those weren't our soldiers. Those were Eric Prince's mercenaries. And they changed the trajectory of the war plan because America saw that and wanted to go to Fallujah, which turned out to be a death pit for so many of our American soldiers. I mean, so many people were injured. So many people died because it wasn't part of our plan. All right. So Eric Prince gets run out of the United States. Blackwater becomes a bad, dirty name, okay? And he starts another defense contracting company, and now he's got this third one called Frontier that operates on behalf of the Chinese government, the communist Chinese government. He takes their money, and he trains their military. Just want you to remember that. I just want you to remember that as we move forward into Trump's foreign policy. Trump's world chaos theory. Oh my God. All right. Consuelo?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, hi, Randy.
Hi.
My name's Consuelo. I'm from Media, Pennsylvania. And I just want to tell you, you have turned me into a Randi Rhodes junkie. I listen to you every day.
Thank you.
But I had a question that has just boggled my mind. Why do you think that Donald Trump didn't get Stormy Daniels paid in cash? Is there another reason besides he's just that stupid?
Well, he's not that cheap. I mean, he paid it, Howard. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying, is there a reason why he didn't pay it in cash instead of having a paper trail, like in checks?
Because that's the way you wire money. I mean, he just, he didn't think it was a big thing. I mean, that's what Michael Cohen, according to Rudy Giuliani, that's what Michael Cohen was there for, to wire money to women who he never slept with, according to him, but he pays off anyway.
Right. It just seems like to me that was a very, stupid thing to do. I mean, this whole thing
Consuelo,
is stupid.
you got to open your mind just a tad, just a touch, just a bit.
I am. That's why I'm calling you, Randy.
Okay, and you have to realize she's not the only one. And this is the way they do this. And that's why Rudy Giuliani felt so comfortable saying on the TV that that's what Michael Cohen is for, that's what Michael Cohen takes care of. And Rudy Giuliani says, like I do for my clients at my law firm, Greenberg Traurig. And of course, he gets fired by Greenberg Traurig like the next day. Because Greenberg Traurig is one of the largest lobby shops in the history of lobby shops, and they're like, screw Rudy. So, but Rudy did sit on the TV and say that's what Michael Cohen is for. That's what his job was. That's why, Trump had him, to pay off all the women.
Yeah, no, I understand that was his job.
So what you want to understand is that he doesn't think there's anything wrong with paying women $130,000.
That's what I'm getting at.
Who didn't sleep with them, apparently. So, I don't know, if you're a woman, I'm a woman, maybe we ought to say, we slept with Donald Trump and we'll get a check for $130,000 wired into our bank accounts. I mean, it's a great little side business, isn't it? I mean, he says he didn't sleep with her, but he paid her. So I didn't sleep with him. You didn't sleep with him. Let's get paid.
Right.
Right. Let's all call Michael Cohen, or maybe we can call Aaron Schlossberg, and Aaron could get us paid. So all you got to do is call up one of these New York Midtown attorneys and tell him, I did not sleep with Donald Trump, and I want my payday. Where's my 130? Should hashtag that. Where's my 130? I didn't sleep with him. All right, listen. Happy Memorial Day. Be back right after that. Buy a stinking podcast.